Yeah, that's a tough one to answer in 1 minute. I would answer it by saying this. I think there's been lots said about there was no egregious acts. I like Jarrell. Jarrell is a good man. I've had an opportunity to talk to him after the firing and wish him the best. I'm glad that his family did not have to move out of the area and that they're well established and that he's doing great. It, to me, became apparent that it wasn't the right fit for Flossmoor. And it was an administrative thing. With the public, the man is amazing. He is great in communicating with the public, with connecting to the schools. All of that part was fantastic. The information that we had and the evaluation of his performance, there were some things that were lacking when it came to the administrative part of it. And I could not ignore that. So then when there was an inability for those things to be discussed, and then a federal civil lawsuit was filed, it became apparent to me that it wasn't a situation that would work out. So that's why I decided to go ahead.
Question?
So the question is whether it's handled correctly.
Yes.
It was handled correctly to the degree that we had an employment situation. The board was brought in an advisory and consent form to go over the former chief's duties, his performance reviews, and unfortunately when we collectively saw them, we all agreed that there was a problem. Two trustees had a different idea of what to do about the problem, but collectively we knew that there had to be a change. The change that the board agreed on, that was communicated, was unfortunate because everybody, including myself, had the highest expectations for Chief Jones. It didn't work out. We wanted to make sure he was taken care of, and he was, and we wish him the best moving forward.
Same question for everyone.
Well, if you have been watching, I've been very vocal about the termination of Police Jones, Chief Jones. Some individuals may have issue with that. But the reality to it is I can't answer if it was handled correctly or not. Because this is the most I've heard about the information, right? Even though I called for it in a board meeting. And let's have this discussion, right? Even though it was promised that it would be revealed. And it has. So I can't answer the question. I can say this. Some of the communication that was laid out, right? How we talk about how a black man speaks. It says that we don't understand relations between ethnicities, right? It says that we have an opportunity to learn from those. And I have a question. I have a question and it still goes unanswered. If this had not been an African-American man, would we have found more ways to try and resolve the issue? And that's just based on history, not calling anyone out, but based upon history. We've been held to a higher standard. And I know that's gonna rub some people wrong. I'm not here to be a politician. I'm just here for truth. If you want truth, I'm your candidate.
So Chief Jones was one of the first officials that I met here in the village. He came up to my husband and my son and I when we were doing the MLK Day of Service, and he greeted himself to us and welcomed us to the village. It was such a warm welcoming. So that night, when we saw what was going on, my husband and I just looked at each other and we were confused. We didn't know what was going on. And why was our first black police chief of this village being fired after only 9 months on the job? Was there a sexual harassment charge? Was there something wrong? Like, what was the core? And the communication that we got gave us more questions than answers. So I talked to people all over Flossmoor, all over neighborhoods, both sides, if you would say sides. And they have said, no, it was not handled correctly.
I don't know Chief Jones, but I know some people that do know him, and also remember the event occurring. And as everyone up here has already mentioned, it did not sound right. One of the things that was a concern to me was the question about who the complaint came from, and if there was proper evaluation of the individual. Because if a complaint is coming from your top person, and you also have a complaint against the top person, there needs to be an external committee. That's the only way it can be fair. So it left a lot of questions to determine whether or not he was actually, in a situation where he was not the best employee. We don't know, because right now Flossmoor Village did not have those things in place to end those questions. The other thing that I can say about the firing of Chief Jones is that it created a divide, but it also created demoralization within the police department. And that's personal to me because my husband is also, he's a federal officer. And so it sends a bad signal across the community, but it also sends a bad signal to the minorities within the department, because he was our first African-American chief.
Well, as many of the candidates have stated, the information wasn't forthcoming. We're getting more information now than we've ever gotten. So to sit here and give you an answer would really be unfair, because Chief Jones is not here to represent himself. He was clearly moving on his he say, she say, and I really prefer not to do that. So I'm gonna let that sleeping dog lie, but I do remember hearing that we would eventually get all the information, it would be disclosed to the public, and it never was. That's my story.
Okay, this is the next question we have. Oh, sorry.
So it started with me with Chief Taylor. I had the opportunity to work with Chief Taylor on some projects, and so when the search started, I remember talking to Michelle and some of the trustees about why are we not hiring Chief Taylor? And I remember saying, when we're black, we have to be overqualified. And I was told that we're gonna find somebody great, and we're just gonna put it out there. And so when Chief Jones was hired, I was really excited, and he seemed to fit the bill in every way. It's easy for me to make this comment that if there are that many people who think he should go, or that many people that are in addition, and that don't agree with it, then it's easy for me to say that my vote would have been for him to not be fired. But I don't have all that information, so all I can do is be just like you guys. But again, there are things that we probably could do better, and that would probably be one of them.
As a sitting board member, you have to remember, we cannot talk about current employees and their job performance in any way. So I can't address that. If you really want to know more about what can be said, you can ask Chief Jones to release his personnel file. The Village of Flossmoor cannot release any of that information because we have to protect the former employee. That's why we're not free to be able to discuss those things.
I know Deputy Chief Taylor. He's also a former Navy police officer. So we have that association there also. I will say this, that I think we all want the most qualified individual, right? But we want the most qualified individual to be judged on a fair and even slate. The breakdown in communication has us continue to question whether that was even given a fair and even slate. So that becomes the issue. I will say this, with other individuals talking about, oh, we can't disclose this, we can't disclose that. Go back and review the way things were voted on. You can see the videos on the board meetings, right? You can even look at the Freedom of Information Act to see what they've done in the back rooms. So you don't have to guess at this. Again, don't trust, investigate. Make your decision based upon an informed investigation.
Deputy Chief Taylor is a great guy. I've had a chance to talk with him. He's a great guy. Why he was not given the job, I can't tell you. I'm not on the board yet. So, what I can tell you though is our current Chief Estelle, my friend and neighbor, has a resume that we should all be proud of, that he is leading the police force here in Flossmoor. This man's resume speaks for itself. He has not only done the work as a police officer, but he has done the work in administration as well. That kind of knowledge is something that is really, I feel, going to take Flossmoor forward.
I don't know why the former or interim chief was not hired as well, but I know that it does send a bad signal when you use a person within an organization and then you use them again within an organization to fulfill a role that they are actually qualified for. And then when you don't hire within that organization, it sends a bad signal down to the other police members that there may not be any room for advancement. It doesn't feel good to be looked over, and so those are some concerns that we need to look at. I'm not on the board either, so I can't tell you what actually happened within, but the fact that we had 3 African Americans and none of them, well, one now, we do have one that's successful, but it just looks bad. So that's all I can say about it.
Well, here's the thing. So in business, as in the business of Flossmoor, when you put people in leadership position, you have to give them room to make the proper decisions for the village. The question was hire within or hire outside. So really don't know Chief Taylor or really what is Assistant Chief Taylor. But again, you have to rely on your leadership to make the proper decisions for the village. You put those leaders in place, you have to live with it. Thank you.
Just quick, because I know you already answered.
Thank you. I think I already answered that, but again, I thought Deputy Chief Taylor would have been a good fit. And again, when they found Chief Jones, I thought it was amazing. Looking back, only thing I can say right now is I'm just really glad that Chief Jones has found an amazing position where he can still kind of work close to his family and not have to move. This is hard business, and sometimes we have to make really tough decisions. I'm gonna try not to throw a finger or point the finger at people because I wasn't there, but we have to be prepared to make these tough decisions. Thank you.
Okay, in 30 seconds, within the restraints of what I can talk about, what I will say is, since I asked for the minutes of the executive sessions to be released, if you go and look at those, you will see that when we made the choice to bring on Carl Estelle as our police chief, it was requested that it was expressly conveyed to him that part of his job was to have a succession plan for both Deputy Chief Taylor and Filkins. I can't say a whole lot more than that, but that was my request. That was my assertion that be done, because it is important that we move up through the ranks for the morale of the department, but also for the success of the man or woman who's next.
Kevin Dorsey, I'm number 4 on the ballot, so write that down, 4, write that down. Look, I think this comes down to a couple of things. One of the biggest investments we all have is our home, right? And in this village, we have a lot of property taxes that we pay for our home. So I really want you to look at the resume of all of us as candidates. Again, I'm big on this. Don't trust me, don't trust the people that are up here. Investigate who we are. See who has the credentials to actually balance that checkbook, to actually make infrastructure plans, to have business development plans, to have business retention plans so we aren't losing all of our businesses downtown Flossmoor. See who has that. I currently run $1 billion portfolio of business for the University of Illinois. That's with a B. If I can do that with a B, I can do an M. When you talk about leadership, I've done this in countries where people, everyone in the room was armed. Everyone had on a bulletproof vest. If I can make those negotiations, if I can bring people together in that form, I can do this for the village that I love. Kevin Dorsey, number 4, thank you.
My name is Troy Holmes, once again. We are going to have to come together after this election. And the only way we're going to be able to move forward is by doing that. That has been the forefront of my campaign since day one, is making sure that we are working together. Heather Hill, I have heard you. I have heard your concerns. You are hurt. You are hurt. And what I am going to do is bring that bridging focus to the Board of Trustees so that we can work together to address those concerns. I will be back out. I keep on hearing from people, they come get my vote and then they don't see me for 4 years. Read my lips. I will be back out in your neighborhoods, in the community, at our festivals, hopefully more Flossmoor Fest, and making sure that I continue to hear your concerns so that you don't feel hurt. I never want to feel that. I never want to hear that from any of you. So I am here. Please punch 8 for Troy Holmes.
I'm Carolyn.
All right, so I'm Carolyn Rodgers. Like I said, I'm here to be your voice. So I'm looking for transparency in communication, transparency in the budget, and also business and economic development here in Flossmoor. If you punch number 9, that's my number on the ballot. I will be here to represent all of you. Like I said, I have a PhD in public health. I am a department chair, so I am in administration. I'm also a grant writer. So I know what it is to write a $5 million grant. We do that all the time. I've done it with research. And we've written the budget. And I've ran those budgets. So what I'm saying to you is, if you are looking for someone who is qualified and to be your voice, we can get students out here to be those ears in the communities. We don't need to call your cell phone. We need people that can bring the information to us, and we can get out there and get it for you. Because that's what's happened all around Flossmoor. Our voices have not been heard so that our concerns can be addressed, so that those concerns can be added to the strategic plan. That's what we need. So if you're looking for someone to do that for you and not be a politician, punch number 9 for Carolyn Rodgers.
Again, everyone, my name is Belgee Falkner. I didn't give you any background on my history or my work history. I do come from a field of business. I'm currently in the field of management for a Fortune 500 company, Keurig Dr. Pepper. My platform includes enhancing our security for our neighborhood and our businesses. It also includes the rebeautification of Heather Hill and Flossmoor, as well as the marketing of our community. We're going after businesses to come to our community, and I think we need to put a little bit more emphasis on how we market our community, because other municipalities around us do that. And so we need to put a little focus on that. I am Faulkner for Flossmoor, punch 10 to win. I expect you all to get engaged, remain engaged, get your friends engaged, because we are putting a lot of time and money to represent you and be a voice for you. So take the time to come out and vote. You have a lot of qualified candidates to choose from. Punch 10 to win.
My name is Phil Lee. I grew up in Markham, and Flossmoor was all white in the 70s. Now it is very diverse, and one of the reasons why it's diverse is because we had we didn't have as much white flags as some of our surrounding communities. So we are in a situation where we have basically a very mixed community, but we need to get together. I want to have that meeting where we talk about race. We have to do this. As far as my business, I run a business. It's a small business, but I started in 2010. I do marketing, and I am proud of the fact that every year I give out about 30 1099s, and 95% of that is to Black businesses. And I don't do it because I like working with Black businesses. I do it because the Black businesses that I work with are best. It's not hard to find good Black businesses. So one of the things I want to do is I want to bring this community together. We got to deal with this race thing. It's that big elephant in the room, and it's black and white, and we got to deal with it. I want to deal with that. Other than that, I just want to be a vessel for you. That's all I want to do. I learned so much just getting out and talking to you guys and learning what you want. My job is easy. I just need to relay that to the village and make sure that what you guys want is what you guys are going to be heard. And again, punch Phil Lee, number one. Thank you.
Gary Daggett, and you know, Flossmoor is an incredibly unique place. I drive all over Chicago, Northwest Indiana, and Michigan, and what we have in Flossmoor does not exist anywhere else. The diversity that we have in Flossmoor brings unique challenges, but it's well worth fighting for and serving. You know, I think a lot of it is about perspective. And for me, I think the important thing is to know that anytime that race is the center of a conversation, for a white guy like me, it's an issue of comfort. For an African American or other minority, it's an issue of safety. And I have to identify that, and I have to know that that takes a different type of listening, and it takes a different type of engagement, which is why anytime anyone has a question or concern, I'm going to make myself available to gain your perspective, because I'm not here just to vote on what I think is right. I'm here to vote on what's best for you guys and Flossmoor as a whole. So again, my name is Gary Daggett. Thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dr. David. Mike.
I think they can hear me better. My name is Brian Driscoll. My qualifications are I do employment litigation for the last 35 years. In that, I've represented every municipality, say most municipalities in Northern Illinois, and certainly the bigger ones. And in that, I picked up a few things which translated to this job as a trustee. I've also been a municipal hearing officer in the south suburbs for the last 20 years. Again, I picked up a lot of things that will help me through this job as a trustee. I believe we have to have the best police, fire, and public works in the south suburbs. To do that, we pay incredibly high taxes. I got involved 8 years ago because, as you remember, 8 years ago, your houses in Heather Hill were undervalued. Your mortgage was more than the house was worth. That's why I ran for trustee, to get that changed around. I'm proud to say we did change those ordinances since then, and now those house values are up 40%. So vote for me, and let's continue to keep our priorities straight, and we all benefit as a town. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.